Hi, what's up? Today we'll be starting with our first section, that is basic concepts in thermodynamics. For convenience, I have divided the subtopics in this section into three. We'll be going through each of them separately. Let's start with the first one. In the first subsection, we'll be going through the definition and understanding of basic concepts in thermodynamics, namely system, surrounding, boundary, thermodynamic properties, state, processes, equilibrium, reversible and irreversible process, PV diagram, extensive and intensive properties, microscopic and macroscopic approach, principle of continuum. In the process itself, we are having standard processes like constant volume process, constant pressure process, constant temperature process or isothermal process, adiabatic process, and polytropic process. That completes the first subtopic, and we'll start with the second one, that is concept of temperature and zeroth law of thermodynamics. That's all for second. And here comes our third, and which is most important from this all subtopics, that is heat and work. Here we'll be going through the definition of heat and work, the difference between heat and work, different modes of work, sign convention for using heat and work transfer, definition of specific heat, and heat and work transfer in various standard processes like heat transfer and work transfer in constant volume process, constant pressure process, constant temperature process, adiabatic process, and polytropic process. And finally, we'll be going through how to represent these standard process in PV diagram and the principle behind that. Even though the list of subtopics in this section is bit lengthy, it's easy, and the good news is that it's very easy to get full marks from this section. The only prerequisite for this section is your presence of mind. Remember, this section is foundation of entire thermodynamics. So this subsection is very important. Now we will go through the types of questions that comes from this subtopic, that is basic concepts in thermodynamics. We'll be getting both 1 marker and 2 marker question from this this subtopic, but from section 1 and 2 usually we will be getting 1 marker question that will be straightforward and conceptual oriented, so you don't have to worry, just have to have a good understanding about all the concept. From section 3 we can have both 1 marker and 2 marker questions. There can be both conceptual oriented or problematic or even graphical related questions, like identifying which process is given in the PV diagram, like differentiating whether the process A is a isothermal process or adiabatic process. There will be other processes also like polytropic, constant volume process and constant pressure process, and there may be some match the following questions. Yes, that's possible, but it's easy to score full mark if you're having the funda, and it's easy to understand also. And second type of problem that can be come from this is identify which mode of energy transfer occurring from one particular boundary. For example, there may be different boundaries given in the question. I mean, there will be a figure and we'll be having different boundaries like A, B, C, and D, and we'll have to figure out what mode of energy transfer is happening through boundary A, boundary B, and C. That is whether it is heat transfer or work transfer. It's easy, but it's tricky. You must be very careful while understanding this concept from the class. Next is straightforward question, that is to calculate work transfer and heat transfer for various standard process, that is work transfer and heat transfer for constant volume process, constant pressure process, isothermal process, adiabatic process, and all. We'll be having standard formula, or we'll be developing standard formula. We'll have to just plug in the values and you will be getting the answer directly. And the good news is that usually this is used to be a 2 marker question, and you can straight away get the full mark. And next question can be, which process will give maximum work under given heat transfer? That means they will be having set of process, right? Like constant volume process, constant pressure process, and all, and we'll have to identify which process will give maximum work. Sometimes they may not list all the process, and so it's a logic. So altogether, this make you to ask a question, that is, how many marks we can expect from this section. I'd already told you that it's easy, and we can expect 3 marker question or plus or minus 1, maybe 3 or 4, anyway it won't be 2 marker question. So there is a possibility of getting 4 marks, and that too from easy topic, right? And next question you will be having is, how much time you will have to dedicate for learning this. I may say it depends on individual to individual, but typically I can say 3 hours of concept preparation and 3 hours of questions